What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the first ever Disc Golf Hour, the new podcast here on Foundation Podcasts. If you haven't paid attention the last couple weeks, we've been hinting at a change, and a change finally happened. We've got the first ever debate night show went live earlier this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. That was honestly one of my favorite pieces of content I've done with Foundation so far. And I'm really excited the future of that show. I think what Trevor is doing, hosting it, getting it set up is incredible. And I think Silas is just starting to kind of, scratch the bottom of the pool, if you will, with what he's possible with the possibility of what he can do with that show. I think it's incredible. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go give it a watch. We'll be doing it again pretty much every week. New guests will be coming on. I will be trying to be on that show every single week, but we will have 3 new guests cycling in. Some weeks Hunter will be on there as well. But it should be a good time. If you haven't checked it out, Foundation Podcast on YouTube, or you can check it out on Apple or Spotify. It is the Debate Night Show, which was the show that this was currently with me and Hunter, but now we have switched to the Disc Golf Hour. This is an ode to my boy Ariel Helwani, big Ariel Helwani fan, big UFC fan, big MMA fan. Absolutely love his show over there. It'll be interesting to see maybe if this show somehow, transfers into that potentially. As of right now, we're just going to keep it how we've been keeping it the last couple weeks. We're going to be going through a list of some things that I find interesting and things I want to talk about. And then we're going to open it up to Twitter Spaces and hear what you guys have to say. And if you aren't listening to us live right now on YouTube or listening to us live on Twitter Spaces, we'll be doing these mostly on Wednesday nights, I believe. Once the season starts, be prepared for the date to change. It might change to a Tuesday. I don't know if I really want to do these the night before tournaments. It might be easier for my schedule to do them Tuesday nights. But if you want to join the conversation, join live. It'll be Tuesdays, Wednesday nights. I'll let you know. And you can join live on Twitter Spaces or join us in the YouTube chat as well. But yeah, this is I'm really excited for this. I've been really, honestly, we didn't really know what we were going to do. We knew debate night was going to shift into a new podcast, but we didn't really think that there was going to be any new additional show making or like coming from that, I guess you could say. And I basically just started doing this a couple weeks prior to us switching over to the new debate night show. You guys all seem to really like it. I enjoyed doing it. And if it's something that I'm enjoying, you're enjoying, I'm going to keep doing it. So appreciate all the love on social media and the comments. And this is also, real quick, this is going to be a new podcast completely. Obviously, it's on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel with all the other shows. We got Bogey Bro Banter, Debate Night, Grip Locked. We got In the Bag. We got all the shows over here as well. But this is a new show completely on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. So make sure you guys go over to those audio platforms. It'll be up probably either tomorrow or the next day. Make sure you subscribe and do all that fun stuff. Leave a review if you want. Let me know what you think, how I can improve the show. And that will be super, super helpful. But if you're here on YouTube now, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to Foundation Podcast, all that fun stuff. Let's get into the first topic, okay? The first topic is going to be Simon Lizotte. Now, obviously, it's been the Simon Lizotte show since 2023 started. And it honestly might continue to be the Simon Lizotte show. Who knows? He might even win the Las Vegas Challenge, and we might never stop talking about Simon Lizotte. But more and more stuff keeps coming out, so we got to talk about it. The $10 million deal, the numbers finally got published, got released, however you want to say it. It was clear the numbers were not supposed to get released. From Simon himself, from MVP, it sounded like the contract numbers it wasn't supposed to be this big announcement like that we have seen with Discraft and Paul. Dynamic Disc and Ricky, with Kona and Ricky, with Latitude and Kristen. We've seen big announcements before, people coming out talking about how much money the players signed for. I don't believe this one was supposed to be that. I don't know Ulti-World's source. I don't know how they got that information, but the information did end up coming out. Was it MVP, not wanting to be the one to say this is what we're doing, but gave the information to Ulti-World to be like, hey, post this so it doesn't come from us, but it's coming from, I don't know. No one has any idea. That stuff is happening. I'm not going to say that's what happened, but stuff like that is starting to happen in disc golf. It's happening with Trevor. It's happening with Hunter. People in the know, not just like I heard. Agents, players, manufacturers, all these people that are like actually the ones involved in the deals themselves are starting to reach out to people and be like, hey, just drop this little hint, or hey, drop this little tidbit, or whatever it may be. Starting to happen. So the idea that this happened, who knows? We're not really quite sure, but the numbers themselves have been posted, and it sounds like Simon is going to be making quite a lot of money over the next several years, which honestly, quite deserved. Quite deserved. I'm going to make sure I drink enough water, because I know sometimes I'll just rant and talk for 30 minutes, and it's not good for you. So I'm going to try to keep water. Some other things that came out that are interesting is Simon's going to actually have a new logo. This is something that I think players need, incoming players, or even players that don't necessarily have things in writing right now. They need to take a note from Simon here and realize you need to control the rights to your logo. You need to have ownership over that. You don't want to get in a situation where you do not have ownership in that. Now, Simon, he's in a situation, in a position where I think it's not going to matter that he needs to change his logo. I think, I don't know. I mean, his logo was pretty sick, the one that he previously had with the wings and everything. But I'm just saying, for like new players, like, do not get in a situation where the manufacturer, the sponsor, whoever it is like, hey, we'll make a logo for you, and it's our logo. You want to be in a position where your branding is yourself, is you own your branding, you own your name, you own all that. And what you're doing is you're not saying, okay, now Discraft, Discmania, Dynamic Disc, you now own my name, you now own my logo. No. You're saying I'm giving you the rights to use it for X amount of years. That is what you need to do. Give the rights away. Do not give ownership away, because you want to be able to, when you bounce to a different manufacturer, or heck, when you retire and you end up doing something else, you don't want to be in a situation where you're like, wow, I built up all this brand equity. I built up all this, fan momentum, or whatever you want to say, around my name, around my logo, around this. And now that like stays with that company. You don't want to do that situation. Also, you don't want to be in a situation where you can't branch out and do things separately. So if like Discmania owns Simon's logo, let's say, if a random apparel company came to Simon and said, Simon, we want you to wear our shirt. And Simon's like, okay, sweet. They're like, we want to put your logo right here on the chest or whatever. He would have to go and get approval from Discmania. Now, most of these manufacturers are very player friendly. They are very open and working with players and whatnot. I don't think that would be a big deal for a lot of them. But the idea that you have to, something that should be your ownership, that you have to then ask someone else if you can use your name. A good example, if you haven't been paying attention to what's going over in golf, the Jack Nicklaus deal. the thing that's going on with Jack Nicklaus is absolutely insane. Jack Nicklaus ended up going in partnership with this another guy or company or whatnot, and ended up essentially losing his naming rights. Like his name, Jack Nicklaus, like putting his name on a course, like a Jack Nicklaus design course. That's a lot of value. But I don't. I need to deep dive a little bit more because I heard a little bit about this. But essentially, Jack Nicklaus is in a really weird spot where someone is being able to control that his name and be able to say what that name goes on and what it doesn't go on. And he's just in a really, really weird spot. We don't want to get into that with anyone. And that's why I think moving forward, new players, players that are changing contracts, players that don't have anything in writing. If it's not in writing who owns the logo, let's get stuff down in writing. This is a big deal. Get ownership over the stuff that you own. That made no sense. Get ownership over the stuff that is rightfully yours, that is your naming rights, your logo, and that will cause way less problems in the future. All right, we got one caller here. Let's see what he has to say. He's got a golf thing in, so maybe he knows a little bit about the Jack Nicklaus situation. What's up, dude? How you doing? Yeah, unmute yourself, brother.
What's up, dude? How you doing? Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm chilling. How are you? Can you mute the stream in the background so we don't double hear it? Hearing myself once is enough. Hello?
Right, I'm here now.
Okay.
Sorry. I apologize for the delay.
You're good.
I'm new to this. It is interesting on the branding. What advice would you give to young disc golfers about their brand, about how they work to build a brand? I signed up to ask the question because I have a young child who wanted to ask, are you going to grow your beard out? So I didn't want to just ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you give for younger kids?
My beard is very, it fluctuates. The length of it very fluctuates. There's really no rhyme and reason about it. I might grow out, who knows? But with the branding, this is what I'll say. And this is similar to a lot of things when it comes to social media, is like, you don't want to start things too soon, right? You don't want to create a YouTube channel and immediately have sponsors and have ads and being like, this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. Like, build an audience with your content, give them something that they enjoy, and then slowly work that stuff in. Same thing on the player side. Like, if you're a new disc golfer or you just made the pro tour, stuff like that, there is no rush into like, oh my gosh, I need to have a logo. I need to have a nickname. I need to have, like, let these things sometimes organically happen. Let's not get into the habit of, I'm just going to call Paul Wagner out here because I just saw his chat. Let's not get in the habit of like, my name's Paul Wagner. I just made the Disc Golf Pro Tour and I need to make a logo. So I need to find someone to make a P and a W somehow coolly intertwined. Let's not do that. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and let's let some things organically happen and see where you fit, see what makes sense. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you want your brand, you want your logo, whatever it may be, you want it to tell something about you. I think a lot of people, obviously, their logos, and you see it all. I mean, Tiger Woods, for example, he's got the TW, and that is the classic, probably one of the most recognizable logos that are just like the initials of a player. And it works really well. I'm not saying the letters don't work. I mean, lots of players do it in sports all over the place. But you also have, like, I talked about Jack Nicklaus, the bear. Like, you have certain things, certain other like characteristics that can come out and be cool nicknames or cool logos that can tell a little bit of a story. Let's not. I just don't want people to rush into it, if that makes sense. Good question, though. All right, we got one more here, Andrew, and then we'll move on to the next thing I want to talk about. Let's see what Andrew has to say. Andrew, you're on here.
Hey, so with your emphasis on brand and your value as a brand, what made you want to not move this past off season as far as like what value you could bring to a new organization if like, you know, your brand is like taking your brand and just like exploding it with a small new company? I feel like that's a big opportunity. What made you want to stay with this craft?
You know, I think it's two things. One, with what you're saying, I agree. Like, obviously, if I would have moved to maybe a smaller company, I probably would have been able to help them some kind of get their name out there or get maybe more exposure for some of their discs. I definitely see that happening. I also don't think my my contract, as far as like the dollar signs go, I don't think that necessarily aligns with some of the smaller companies. I think they're probably putting a lot of their money more in the manufacturing side versus the actual marketing side of it. I think that plays a hand in hand. I've also just had a really, really good relationship with Discraft, and they were able to meet what I was looking for these next 2 years. So they didn't really give me a reason to look elsewhere, if that makes sense, or go elsewhere.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Being with the Ultimate, Ultra-Star, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, yep, cool.
Yep. All right, good question, brother. Appreciate you tuning in. I knew that guy was an Ultimate player. He had a Ultimate jersey in his Twitter profile. So, all right, let's talk about the next thing. Next thing, cool thing, something that I definitely see a future happening with a lot of disc golfers is creating this kind of disc golf paradise once they retire. That's something that Simon also mentioned that he's interested in doing with, you know, finding a plot of land similar to kind of what Kale did up at Preserve, finding like an old golf course, transitioning it into a disc golf course. We'll see what that happens. I think that's obviously all good things. The more disc golf courses, complexes, these types of things that we can get, the better. I would absolutely love to have something in Dallas like that, where it not only has like an 18 hole or a 36 hole, like two 18 hole courses, but I would love to have an actual like complex where you have 5 or 6 baskets 50 feet apart from one another, like a putting area. Then you have like a driving range with baskets at 150 feet, 200 feet, 250 feet, 3. I would absolutely love to have something that, in Dallas like that. I just don't know realistically, again, like the money, if it's there. Too much light. Better with the light, not better with the light. I've got this overhead light situation. I don't know what you want me to do. It is what it is. I'm going to look like a ghost. That's why most people probably tune in and listen. They don't have to look at my my ugly mug for over an hour. Last thing is, which I thought was pretty interesting. I haven't heard from any of these people. I don't know. Jordan's actually in here, so it'd be interesting if he jumps on and kind of maybe clears up this. But another thing Simon talked about, which was interesting, was the Drew tweet that came out the night before, and then Jordan Castro, Chris Clemens, their posts or comments or whatever that kind of led people to believe that Simon was leaving as well. So the Drew tweet, for those that didn't see it, Drew basically, or for those that didn't see what Simon said about it, Simon essentially said that Drew texted him the night before, and I believe Simon told him that he was going to make the announcement tomorrow. And then Drew said, I'm going to tweet that. And then Simon just kind of probably gave that kind of like, haha, okay. Like, I think you're joking. And then he ended up actually tweeting like Simon's making an announcement tomorrow. So that was very interesting. That whole combo. Again, I haven't heard from Drew to kind of see what went down. But it did seem like Simon was a little I don't know, a little upset with Drew, Jordan, and Chris for kind of giving out that information. Now, I will say again, this is not hard. Okay. It really isn't hard. If you want something to be kept a secret, don't tell anyone. That's all you have to do. Don't tell anyone. So, yes, obviously, I get why Simon's upset with some of the other players for making comments or whatever about it. But, like, I think Simon told people that he was moving. So, it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, go back to the whole thing. Like, Ezra, one of the people that I'm closest to on tour, thought I was leaving Discraft. Why did he think I was leaving Discraft? Because I didn't tell him I was staying with Discraft. The only people that knew I was staying with Discraft, or at least in talks, at that time I was in talks with, kind of finalizing my contract. The only people that knew that were me and Discraft. And the only people at Discraft that knew that were the people that needed to know that. No one else knew. No one else on the elite team or any of the other players knew, because the people that needed to know knew. So this whole notion of like stuff getting out and stuff, if you do not want stuff to get out, which is understandable. I mean, I would, if I had a big announcement, it would suck if someone else released that I was whatever. That would suck. That would like take some of the shine away. It would be fun. But just don't tell anyone. Like they can't spoil an announcement if they don't know. We'll end it there. Okay. Let's talk dress code. Oh, wait, we got someone on here. Ooh, Miggs. I like that name. That's a cool little nickname. Maybe that's actually his real name. Who knows? Miggs, you're on. Unmute yourself, brother.
Hello?
Yep, you're live. What's up, brother?
Oh, for sure. Thank you for having me on here. A quick question. Simon was on the podcast, right? Talking about...
I believe it was the Nick and Matt show, yes.
Yeah. And he was saying that him and a course designer, I think, the MVP, Maple Valley Open.
Okay, yep.
They're saying that they're a Simon layout. So what do you think about players making courses? But like...
You're saying, what do I think about players being involved in making courses?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, good question. Yeah. All right. He was breaking up there a little bit, but I think I got the gist of it, Miggs. You were kind of turning into a robot. Players making courses. I mean, obviously, you don't really necessarily want to have active players being too involved with making courses. We saw how that kind of backfired a couple weeks ago. We talked about how Evelina discussed how she was upset that some players in the FPO were able to complain to the tournament directors at the Texas States, and they essentially changed some of the holes because of the complaints. And essentially the complaints were, these holes are too far. They aren't suiting my skill set. And I don't know necessarily if that's a good thing. I don't think we want, obviously good feedback is important, right? Like having players say, we don't really like this aspect, we don't like this, and then maybe in the future them taking that into account. But I don't know if I don't know if we want to have someone that's like a predominantly backhand thrower be like, this hole sucks. And then when you really figure out why the hole sucks, well, it sucks because it's a forehand and they don't have a forehand. I don't think that's good. Now, what I will say is like, we are in a situation where outside of like Avery Jenkins, outside of Eric McCabe, outside of I'm trying to think of some other names of people. Gosh, why am I blanking on the Maple Hill guy? Oh my gosh. Someone in chat will tell me. But outside of a handful of people, there aren't too many course designers that I would consider like Steve Dodge. Thank you. There aren't too many course designers that I would really say like have proven themselves, or John Houck's a good one. Yep. There's a handful of course designers out there. There's not a lot. So the idea of Kale LaVisca is a good one. Dustin Keegan, current player, both Kale and Dustin Keegan, both current players. But the idea of like having all of our courses designed by non-players right now is probably not super realistic. So I'm fine with Paul designing courses. I'm fine with Simon designing courses. I'm fine with other people designing courses if the course is fair, if the course is well done, obviously. Outside of that, though, I think as the sport continues to grow and evolve and players continue to retire as they get older, I think you'll start seeing people like Simon, Paul, Kale, Dustin, all these people that we have mentioned that are current players, current pros on tour. They might dab into the course design world. And I think that's just going to happen kind of over time. So we're just in a weird spot right now where the pool of people was so small 20 years ago that, took disc golf seriously compared to what we are now. So as the pool of people taking disc golf gets more and more bigger and, or the people that take disc golf more seriously gets bigger and bigger, we're going to have more people that can potentially go into those course design worlds, if that makes sense. All right, we got Kevin here. Kevin, you are live, brother. What is good? What do you got for us? Hello, Kevin. All right. Got to make sure you unmute yourself. We got to keep the show going here. All right, next topic. Let's talk about dress code. This is a big one, man. And I'll be the first to say I was 1,000% wrong with my take on dress code. When I initially came into disc golf, I thought we should be dressing. And when I say we, I mean people on the pro tour should be dressing like the people on the PGA Tour dress. I was like, we should be wearing golf pants, golf shorts. We should be wearing polos. We should be wearing belts. We should be wearing fitted hat. Like, I was 100% on board with that. And if you go back and watch some of the coverage of me playing my first year, that's what I did. I wore golf shorts. I wore golf pants. I wore polos. I tucked in my shirt. I wore a belt. As I got further and further along down the disc golf world and got more experience, I learned that that was not a good take. Now, can you wear that? Yes. Am I against people wearing that? Absolutely not. If you want to wear polos, pants, all that stuff, a belt, you want to tuck your shirt in, I do not care. If that is what you want to wear, I do not care. But I don't think we should be policing, especially because it's not against the rules. That's the big one. If the Disc Golf Pro Tour decides that the dress code needs to be upped, needs to be raised, they need to cut out more things, say you can't wear this, whatever, and it ultimately goes into a world of where we are wearing golf stuff, it is what it is. Then that's fine. We'll do that. But as of right now, it's not set that way. And in my mind, when I've played on these courses, when it's rainy and muddy and I'm hiking in the woods and it's humid and I'm having to run and throw and stretch and do all these things, the first thing that comes to my mind is not like, I need to be wearing my golf attire. Like, that is the first thing that comes to my mind. Another point, and this is like the business side of things. Okay. So you have the comfort side of things. I understand some people are like, there's no way you can tell me a polo shirt's not comfortable. It is. There are polos out there that are comfortable. But I will tell you, if you had an option of running in a jersey like this with no polo, with no collar, and running in with a collar around your neck, the no collar is going to feel more comfortable. Running, sweating, having less fabric around your neck, regardless of how minimal it is going to be more comfortable. The belt situation also is another one. That one, I don't know what I was thinking. There were so many times where I would putt and my putt literally kind of goes right into that like midsection area. There were so many times where my putt would like hit right into the belt buckle and make a noise or like get caught or whatever. I have no idea why I was wearing a belt. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever done. Now, again, if you want to wear a belt, by all means, wear a belt. I do not care. I don't think there is like, you are dressed too nice I don't think that is a case. But when it comes to saying the way to look professional, you have to wear golf attire, I hardly disagree. I do not think you have to look, I do not think you have to wear golf attire to look a professional on a disc golf course. I think lots of things are very specific to the sport. You look at swimming, they're barely wearing any clothes. You look at gymnastics, they're wearing leotards. You look at tennis, they're wearing very short shorts, athletic sleeveless shirts. Depending on the sport, I mean, UFC fighting, they're wearing little, compression shorts. Depending on the sport itself, you can create the dress of what a professional looks like. I don't get this mindset of suit and tie, pants and collared shirt. I don't get why that is like that's the professional look. You can make a look however you want it to be and be like, this is the professional look for that sport. Now, yes, I understand there are, if you show up to the course like you're about to go to a Limp Bizkit concert, that probably doesn't look good, right? I get that. There are certain things that probably don't look good, and untailored, let's say untailored clothing, that's a big one. But that's like it just in life. If you walk out in clothes that don't properly fit you, people are going to look at you like you don't know how to dress yourself. Trust me, I'm the first person. I'll raise my hand. I am the first person to admit that. Also, not being able to color coordinate. That's another big one. I'm also terrible at that. So like having like the wrong colored hat based off your shorts or socks or whatever, all those things come into play. Is it easier to look professional going the golf route? Probably. You probably will look more professional, I guess, if like if your colors are off or the sizing's a little bit off. I could see how that could look more professional than if your colors and sizing are off in more of an athletic attire. But if you're color coded and you're walking out there like Rafa and Nadal, no one's going to look at you and think you're not professional. I'll say that. We'll hear if anyone has to. This is a hot topic. Lots of people love to talk about the dress code. One other additional point I want to say, because this is on the business side of things. When you go to a disc golf course, what are people wearing? When you go play, when you're like, I'm about to go out and play 18 holes, when you go to your closet, what clothes are you pulling out of your closet and putting on to go play? What clothes are the people at the course wearing on a hot day? If the answer is not a polo shirt and golf pants, then we have a problem here, in the sense that we now are going to go down the route of creating apparel that viewers don't wear, right? Like, I'm trying to think of like, it's just on a business side of things, it would be tough. And I've talked to golf companies. I've talked to Adidas. I've talked to Callaway. I've talked to Travis Matthew. I've had conversations with golf companies about getting into disc golf. And the issue, I think, ultimately is they would have to almost create a different brand. They would have to almost create a completely different apparel line, because if I put out Dark Horse polos, for example, the amount of people that are willing to buy a Dark Horse polo is going to be way smaller than the amount of people that are willing to buy like this Dark Horse jersey, for example. Because when I put this on and I go play, I can put this on and go work out. This is something that is not only multifunctional, but it's also extremely, again, comfortable to go play in. That's another topic to be said about it, is the polos. Like, no one wears polos on the course. Like, I don't know. That would be my other business side of things. But let's hear what people have to say. We've got the disc golf commenter. He's got disc golf hot takes. So let's see what he brings to the table. Hopefully he unmutes himself so we can hear what he has to say.
All right. You hear me?
Yes, you're on. How's it going?
Not too bad. All right. You said so many things I'm trying to unpack.
Yeah, well, that's the welcome to the show, my friend.
Exactly. All right. So here's my thoughts. I agree with you in the sense of players should be able to wear what they are comfortable with, right? Because disc golf is it's an athletic, you're doing athletic motions, right? And that requires athletic apparel, especially compared to something like golf.
In the woods as well.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think I have a problem with that. I think your argument about when you go to the local courts, what are people wearing is, I don't know if that's valid, because like dudes pull up to local leagues in like jeans, and like I personally would never, but like wear all kinds of crap. So.
Yeah, no, my point being, like, you don't really, it would be uncommon to see someone wearing a polo shirt tucked in pants. Where if you went to the golf course just on a random Wednesday afternoon to play golf, I wouldn't be shocked if I saw a handful of people wearing pants and a polo. That was my point.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I even play disc golf in like shorts, no shirt. You know, like people play in all sorts of different stuff. That wasn't my argument. My argument was just more like the golf attire is not like anyone's really go-to. I'm sure there are the exception, but it's not normally the go-to for most people just going to play.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Well, so anyway, my main point, I think where I disagree is on like the jersey front. Cause like I personally am just not a big fan of like the direction that disc golf jerseys have gone in.
Okay.
And like, no offense, but like this jersey you're rocking right now, to me, like just seems tacky for what, like a professional sports attire, right? Like it kind of.
So do you find?
Makes me,
oh, sorry. No, you finished. Sorry, I thought you were done.
Yeah, I think it like goes kind of along the lines of like, and I know it's part of how our sport, the players get paid, but like throwing logos all over their shirts, right? Like it reminds me of like where NASCAR is, of just like you see all the like tiny little patchwork logos on the cars, right? And you're just like, what is going on here? Like, I don't know, it looks tacky is the word that comes to mind.
So what jerseys do you like in football, basketball, baseball?
Well, I mean,
soccer, for example. Like what other jerseys?
Sure, they
what jerseys do you think don't look tacky in those sports that are very similar, kind of, with the logo on there and the jersey material and whatnot?
It's true. That's a good point. I think at one point you were making.
I wasn't even trying to make a point. I was just asking, in all the other sports that wear jerseys, do you think they all look tacky, or are there some jerseys that you're like, oh yeah, the Chicago Bulls, that jersey looks sick because it's a bull?
Oh no, I think like the tennis argument you made like a while ago in one of these calls, I think is probably the best comparison, right? In terms of the movements that the sport's making, and then the dress code that goes along with it, right? Like some sort of like nicer looking, right? But not necessarily collared, or not like a golf polo, but right, that kind of nicer look. But it's also not. I mean, I saw that somebody. I don't know if it was you that tweeted. Somebody tweeted today this picture of a guy playing tennis in an outrageous outfit. Which
I quote tweeted that. Yeah, that guy's actually nasty at tennis, by the way.
Okay, I mean, but you have to be if you're going to wear something. Like
that guy's disgusting.
You have to be able to back it up, but. Yeah, I think tennis is probably the closest sport we have in terms of dress code. And I think what they wear in general seems to be kind of, it's nice, right? I mean, tennis is kind of a country club sport, right? But at the same time, it's athletic, right? You can still gives you the freedom,
very athletic,
and comfort. So I think that's probably our closest comparison.
Yeah, no, I agree, and yeah, you don't necessarily see, like, what I'm wearing. You don't necessarily see that as much in maybe the tennis aspect, but also I would say too, on the tennis side of things, most of the players that you are seeing are sponsored by Boss, Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, and those, trust me, if Nike wanted to sponsor me, I would be glad to wear just a nice Nike dry fit for $100,000 or whatever, right? So, when it's like the actual apparel company sponsoring you, that's where you can kind of have that more clean look. You look at someone like a Tiger Woods, right? His like how he looks in golf always came off super clean because he was sponsored by Nike. So his hat just had a Nike check. His polo just had a Nike on the top, and then he had his TW on like the back of his neck, and that was it. Now, if you're a lower tier player and you don't have that big sponsor with an apparel company, you now have to get the MasterCard on your collar. You have to get that weird insurance company on your sleeve. You have to get, 3 or 4 logos on your hat, because you're not going to get, MasterCard is not paying you the same amount of money as a Nike or an Under Armour and Adidas is to wear their stuff. So that's how they kind of get by that way. So it kind of all just depends on that, if that makes sense. But I liked what you have. We have a bunch of other people, so I'm going to get some other people in here. Appreciate you calling in, brother. All right, let's see. We got Mike here. See what Mike has to say. Mike, you're live. What's up, brother?
Hey, Brody. Just a quick opinion on the dress code. I can't think of any sport that went from kind of underground to mainstream, and they completely changed the way that the athletes dress, right? To maybe make a better image or whatever, or to change it for whatever reason. So, short of, I think, as a baseline on the DGPT, they shouldn't be able to come out with swim trunks and tank tops. I mean, that's just my opinion on that. But I believe what you guys say with performance, crew necks and shorts or whatever, that's just the general image of dressing a little bit nicer for a tournament. That's always been synonymous with disc golf. Just because disc golf's blowing up, doesn't mean we need to say, hey, let's be like the PGA Tour and make guys, wear pants and tuck in polos. But I just think that we shouldn't shift. We should just stick to what we're doing, look professional and just continue to grow where disc golf's going. That's just my 2 cents.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think I don't have too much to say in regards to like I don't have as much knowledge that I would like to be able to address like how sports have evolved over time. I think I have seen involvement more in like injury prevention, right? So you think of like football, the helmet used to just be a 1 bar situation, and now it's evolved so much more. Someone brought up UFC. That was more. See, that one, I don't really see that being as much of like an apparel change of where they were wearing something crazy. The only I could think of is like they took away the flares, right? They had some of those shorts that were like cut, and it almost looked like you were one of those characters in Mortal Kombat. They took those away. You weren't allowed to wear the flares anymore. But for the most part, fighters were still wearing like the sports bra and like the compression shorts, but obviously moving to Reebok, now the Venom. Those were more apparel changes, not so much like the actual equipment or the actual dress code changing. I don't know too much. I know golf has become more and more lenient. I do know that. But as far as other sports and their dress code, I don't really have too much knowledge to expand on that. All right, Tyler, we're going to throw him in here, see what he has to say about it. Tyler, what's up? Tyler, you are live. All right, we'll try someone else while Tyler figures out his microphone situation. Hunter, you are live, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yep. What's going on, man?
So when I first joined and started watching, I saw everybody in their golf shorts, belts, and polos. And I was like, oh, that looks really professional. That's what I want to do once I start playing tournaments. So I bought all those things and went and played a tournament. And it is way less comfortable and useful in the rounds than your gym shorts and an athletic shirt. way worse. And honestly, I believe that taking kind of Paul Macbeth as an example, where he wears obviously the polos and the golf shorts.
He has changed though. Worlds last year and a couple other tournaments, he's starting to wear. He has a couple now dry fit shirts that he's wearing. But
that is true. Yes. And when he wears the polo, like originally it looks good, but it's going to call out when he turns around a lot of times, and you can see a large sweat stain lots of times on the polo. I believe that doesn't happen a lot more with the dry fit shirts, and it's definitely not more visible. So I think
you're not a fan of the pit stains. Not a fan of the pit stains.
I just think it looks less professional. Like, oh, they got the polo on, but then boom, there's a big sweat stain on it. I think honestly that makes the athletic shirts look more professional.
Gotcha. All right, appreciate you calling in, brother. Yeah, with the sweat stuff, I don't know. I probably don't care too much. I mean, I was literally just watching. I think it's called Breakpoint, the Netflix. The people that did the Formula One Drive to Survive are doing it with Breakpoint. They're also doing it with the PGA Tour, which is coming out soon, which I'm really excited to watch that one. But the one with Breakpoint is obviously following a couple of the professional tennis players. So I've been watching a decent amount of like tennis coverage. They're sweaty. They've got sweat all over themselves. It didn't bother me. I can see how maybe it can bother some people. Same thing as like Hunter said, how like him going out and playing in golf attire is way less comfortable. I can also see how some people can be like, no, golf attire is like super comfortable. I don't know what you're talking about. To each their own. All right. Let's see. Let's get a couple more people, and then we're going to switch up some topics because I have a few more topics to discuss here. Spencer, what up, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm chilling, man. What you got for us?
I'm on the like complete opposite side of the spectrum in the sense that you were just getting into, where I prefer golf kind of polo when I wear. I don't necessarily think the belt's necessary. I think my favorite way to wear it's just like untucked and with an athletic pair of shorts. But
okay.
I'm definitely on team golf polo. And I agree with this. I don't think the sweat really matters. I also think that can be a color thing more than anything. I mean, certain colors just hide sweat better.
Yep.
But I definitely like the polos. I think a lot of people around where I live, there's a lot of local disc golf companies that produce the polos around here. And
okay.
I'm up in Maine, so like Thought Space Athletics is up here with their jerseys. Circle One Disc Golf produces all their golf polos.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot of following around the local community of there. I mean, we get our fair share of jeans and work boots and T-shirts.
Of course.
But I think when you go to a tournament, especially the more, like ace, like if they're A series or like main states, for example, it's a lot more professional, and you will see a lot of the people wearing golf polos. And I just think that's a good look, in my opinion.
Gotcha. All right. Well, appreciate it, Spencer. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for tuning in, as always, brother.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, again, like I said, there are going to be, I think my point is there's going to be some people that like the look of polos. There are going to be some people that don't like the look of polos. There's going to be some people that like the photo that I posted on Twitter. There's going to be some people that be like, dude, that outfit looks sick. That's awesome. There's going to be some people that don't like it. I think where I'm at is like the people that don't like it, that's fine. I just don't know if we should be banning like certain things. Yes, for sure. Let's ban it. Certain clothes, I think we can all agree that makes no sense. That shouldn't be on the disc golf course in a professional manner. But I think there are some things that we got to come to a compromise a little bit. And the other thing I was going to say that I think is cool that Spencer brought up was how he was saying how people are showing up in jeans and work boots and stuff like that. Like the way disc golf is set up, it is set up in a way where most professions, you can go to your job, work 9 to 5, get off, and then go play 18 holes in whatever you wore to work. Or, have a couple, a shirt or something, throw it on. Like you can get away with playing disc golf in a lot of different outfits. You can also get away in playing golf in a lot of different outfits as well. The only thing is, a lot of times these golf courses have specific dress codes that you must abide by. If these golf courses didn't have these dress codes, for example, the course that we played all the time in Lynchburg, it was just a municipal course, 9 holes, super like wear whatever you want. I mean, people were out there in sweatpants and hoodies, and at the end of the day, it's like, who cares? Like, who cares? That's where, like, to a certain point, like, obviously on the professional side, yes, let's talk about it. Professional side, I do think marketing side and how things look, we need to make sure that we are giving off that image. But like, to think of me like showing up to a basketball court and seeing people wearing working boots or sweatpants or a hoodie or heck dress pants or a collared shirt and like judging those people and being like, those people shouldn't be out here. Like, that's insane to me. Like, if you want to go and play basketball casually, you should be able to wear whatever you want. And I think that's the same in disc golf. And that's the beauty thing in disc golf too, is like, you can probably get it away. Like, I would probably never show up to a basketball court in work boots and pants and stuff, just because I would be super uncomfortable, but other people could. And it's the same thing in disc golf. I would never play in work boots and nice dress pants, but I'm sure there's people out there that do it and they can get it done, and that's completely fine. Whatever floats your boat. All right, let's try Tyler one more time. Let's see if he's got the mic situation figured out. Tyler, are you there with us now?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, no worries, brother.
Hey, I think when we look at golf, that's a gentleman's game and with tons of history, which is why they wear what they wear. And so now these athletic companies have come up with attire that fits athletic movements. So when you look at disc golf, it doesn't have that gentleman's quote unquote history. So, I mean, it really shouldn't matter too much. And again, like you're saying with the professional side, we should look nice. But if you're buying polos and they feel uncomfortable when you're throwing a disc, you're not buying the right polos, in my opinion. There are plenty of dry fit, stretchy Under Armour polos. I wear a polo when I play just because I like looking nicer, because I have a background in golf. And my Under Armour polos stretch. They're super comfortable. But I do wear some nicer basketball shorts. Not basketball, but some nicer athletic shorts to wear instead of wearing golf shorts, quote unquote. So I think thinking about.
Yeah, and I think obviously there is, you golf, so there is lower body rotation in the golf swing, right? But I think the one thing that is much different between a golf swing and a disc golf swing, if you will, is the stance, right? A golf swing, my stance is shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider than shoulder width. And so my pants aren't or my shorts or pants, whatever it may be, aren't really stretching too much, if you will. But in a disc golf throw, I'm well outside of shoulder width, and those shorts, they're not designed for that kind of movement. And again, this is way different. If you look at it's the same thing as like when I hold a disc up and people think it's a mini because my hand is ginormous. It's the same thing here. The size of my thighs to other people's thighs is probably way different. So yes, maybe we both are a size 32 waist or a size 34 waist, but I have thunder thighs. So the way the shorts are going to fit around my thighs compared to other people are different. So like, you might be like, oh, it's super comfortable, I have no issue. Well, let me tell you, then, my whats are a little bit uncomfortable when I'm playing disc golf. So again, to each their own. I do agree with you, though. There are definitely stretchy polos out there. However, I will say, again, if I had to go collar or no collar, even if it's minute, no collar is still more comfortable.
So even if you were trying to protect your neck from the sun.
Oh, I don't care about that. I just had a dermatologist appointment today.
That's the only thing I care about is when I play in the sun, my neck to be protected. So that's the reason why I find it more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, coming from an ultimate frisbee background, I've spent 15 hours out in the sun on a weekend for 50 weeks of the 52. So
Got that sick Florida skin.
yeah, I've got that alligator leather skin at this point. It is what it is. But yes, I see what you're saying. That does make sense if that is something that you're concerned with, because that is a real area where, especially on the back of the neck, I feel like the back of the neck is where, especially coming from the golf side, right? If you play golf and you don't wear a collar, that back of the neck can get absolutely roasted, toasted. So, makes sense.
That's why you're not seeing the collar on pros anymore. It's just a longer neck. It's for protection. I mean, they're getting closer and closer away from losing the whole traditional style because it's not really a gentleman's game anymore. But
yeah. All right, good call. Appreciate it, brother.
See ya.
I like that. That guy might need it. That guy might need to apply for debate night. That was a very good call. Very good call. Tyler, if you're still listening, hit up Trevor. See if you can get on some debate night shows in the future. All right, let's talk about Paige Shue. Good timing, actually, too, because she actually just posted today on Discraft's Instagram. I think they did like the co-post or whatever it may be about getting the RV. So her and Grady will be hitting the road in Ezra's old RV. It's kind of like a family car, if you will, where it kind of gets passed down, which is kind of a cool thing, I guess. And people have been asking, what is Ezra going to do? Ezra bought a car. He's all set. He's super happy with it. He'll be good to go. So we saw Paige Shue. The announcement came out that she is joining. I don't think it got the pop that it should have, because I do think there are a lot of people that are paying attention to disc golf now that weren't several years ago. And if you've just have come in the 22 or whatever it may be, the last several years, you might not even Paige Shue might not even like ring a bell. I'll say this. I don't know if she has increased her distance. I do know from watching her in the past, she was not one of the farthest throwers on tour by any means. So I'm not sure if that was something that she took into account the last several years and got more distance. But I will say there are some tournaments out there that are on the shorter end, not as long. You're not having to throw multiple drivers into a green. Be on a lookout for Paige Shue. She has an incredible putter and mid-range game. She is very streaky when it comes to her putting. And where she won Worlds is where Worlds is this year, GMC. So you heard it here first. I was trying to get in during debate night if I would have won, which rightfully I didn't win. It is what it is. My like sleeper picks, or like my people that you wanted to look out for in the upcoming FPO season, I was going to mention Paige Shue as someone that be on the lookout for. So, and she just won a tournament. I don't know who was at the tournament, Savannah Open. Not entirely sure how deep of a field was. I did not go that deep into actually looking in. She might have beaten no one. She might have beaten two people. I have no idea, but she won. So there's that. All right, let's see. Okay, let's go into the last topic here. We are talking, unfortunately, about Valerie Mandujano's injury. It just came out. She made a post. I'll read the post real quick, or what she said on Instagram for those that don't know. She said, due to an unfortunate event on the disc golf course, I've resulted in a grade 3 sprain on my left ankle, a minimum of 3 to 4 week hiatus from disc golf and all their sports, including walking. The result of the injury means I may miss the first 2 events of the year, All-Star and LVC. With all that being said, please wish me fast healing and great patience. If you would like further details, you can check it out tomorrow on Johnny Disc Golf Channel. Okay. A couple things to unpack here. First off, Valerie would be in my short list of potential players to compete against Kristen Tatar. I think it was clear that when Kristen Tatar has her A game, she is above and beyond everyone when they have their A game. I think Val has the skills to be able to challenge that. Now, obviously, Val switching over to Discraft, big news, big headlines. Discraft now has a very deep FPO roster. When you look at Paige Pierce, Missy Gannon, Val, and Holland Hanley all at the top. And then we did just talk about Paige Shue for a little bit there as well. This is a little bit worrisome to me, though. And this is what, it's always hard giving advice or like talking about other people's injuries because you don't always know exactly what they're going through, how severe it is, how their body's reacting to it. But based off of what I have experienced with injuries in the past, I always go the same route. There is never a rush to coming back. There should never be a rush to coming back. And especially with an injury like this, where the ankle is such an important piece to a disc golf throw that if you come back and it's not fully 100% ready to go, the chances of re-injuring, the chances of aggravating, the chances of like something bad happening are always higher. It is how it is with any injury. Once you injure something, the chances of re-injuring that or another thing that because you're compensating that injury is always higher. So when it comes to injuries, I'm always on the safe side of like, I get it. And it's like, I feel like more in the niche sports. So my background in ultimate frisbee and here in disc golf, I don't know if it's because we don't have the high level athletic trainers, the doctors, we don't have as much sources as some of these other athletes where, obviously their teams are their teams have doctors on doctors, or, if you're a golfer or a tennis player and you're making millions of dollars, you have your own, personal doctor, personal trainer, all this stuff. I've just seen it in ultimate, and I've seen it even in disc golf where people come back too soon. Like they just can't sit out and wait long enough. And so they're like, oh, I'm at 80%, I come back. I mean, you look at someone like Lamar Jackson. If you don't think Lamar Jackson could have played in the playoffs, you're crazy. He definitely could have gone out there and played. Would that have been a smart move for him? Absolutely not. One, he's in a situation where he's trying to land a massive contract. If he goes out there and has the game of his life or blows out a knee, there isn't like the risk reward there is terrible. Like he doesn't really get that much for going out there and playing incredible. But if he goes out there and messes up his knee, something else happens, his value drops significantly. So his play to like sit back and just be like, I'm not 100%. I'm going to wait. That's huge. That is massive. And like that play is just, that is such a smart play for him. And I hope, and maybe, again, I think it's different for every player, right? I'm hoping Valerie is set up with Discraft in a way to where she doesn't feel like she has to come back quickly, because unfortunately there are going to be some players that are like, this is my only source of income is like tournament earnings, tournament winnings. And if I sit out for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, I just can't tour. And I hope that's not the case. I hope Valerie has all the time that she needs to make sure she does the physical therapy, she gets it back 100% and is ready to go. Because I would hate for an injury like that to kind of plague her throughout the season when she has such a talent and an ability to be one of the top FPO players throughout the year. I'll say that. All right, we got Ace Run Pro. Ace Run Pros in the house. What's going on, guys?
Hey, Brody. Thanks for calling on us here.
Of course.
Two quick things. One, the Savannah Open thing in Paige Shue. We actually had a chance to get out there. We covered the men's side, but we also hung out with Paige quite a bit and did a practice round with her.
Awesome.
She's still very much adjusting to the bag.
Okay.
So I mean, she got the victory. It was really over local pros that she took on.
Okay, that's why I figured, but
yeah, like you can see she's still kind of figuring out what her distance shots are, what her approach shots is, and all that stuff. But in terms of rust and all that stuff, she looks pretty sharp, to be honest.
Nice.
So I would expect her to kind of pick up and hit the season running.
Okay, fantastic.
Funny enough, you were talking about injuries also with Valerie, because we were talking to Paige about that also, and I was talking to Zach Melton, who was out there, and he talked about coming back too early from his knee surgery a couple years ago.
Yep.
And how that affected not only his play for that season, but really like his contracts over the next couple of years, because it kind of put him in a little bit of a hole where he had to prove himself again. And playing injured, you know as well as anybody, you're never 100%, and you tend to compensate, and then you can end up injuring something else because you're compensating for an existing injury.
Yep. It's one of the hardest things to do for especially, competitive people, to be able to like sit back and wait. But it is so necessary, because again, it's like, I mean, it pops in my head every once in a while of where I'm just like, man, if I could go back in time, would I change? Like, would I do things differently? And the answer is probably honestly like yes, for like a lot of the way that I handled my knee surgeries and injuries. I probably would, because I'm seeing effects now, and I feel like now I'm on a program to where I actually might get back to actually a pretty good spot. But I mean, I went from being able to jump 36, 38 inches to literally standing in front of a 20-inch step up and like being frozen. Like I could not leave the ground. And it's one of the hardest things to do. So whenever it's coming to injuries, I'm always like, let's just be super, super cautious.
Yeah, it's a long season. It's a grind. It's a lot of weeks.
Yep.
You don't want to come back too early for sure. But yeah, just wanted to kind of put that out there about Paige and kind of talk about Zach's point of view and how it relates to those injuries. But appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Hey, have a good season this year.
Thanks, man. See you out there.
All right. A little intel there on Paige. Sounds like she's still trying to figure out her bag a little bit. All right, we got. I keep seeing the captain's in here. Is he actually in here wanting to talk? And he just doesn't know how to get in here. I don't see him in here. Call Yuli? I mean, I can text him real quick if he was trying to figure it out and he couldn't figure it out. I would love to hear what he has to say. So far, the calls tonight, honestly, first episode, calls have been awesome. Calls have been really, really good. So appreciate everyone calling in. Hey, appreciate everyone tuning in right now. If you're watching live on YouTube, heck yeah. If you're listening to us live over on Twitter Spaces, awesome. And if you're joining late on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the other places, welcome. It says he's in here. Let's see. Does anyone actually see Yuli in the Twitter Spaces? I don't. This is where he could be pulling my leg. Is his Twitter ID like super weird? Is it not actually Yuli? I don't even know what his. Yeah, it's just his name. How do I request someone? Let's see here. You're not in. Maybe. If you can hear me, Yuli, leave Twitter Spaces and come back in, because I don't see you in here. So I don't know what's going on. But you've got me. You've thrown me into a pretzel, Yuli. Sent you a screenshot. Let's see. Leave and come back, because I don't see you. He definitely sent me a screenshot, and he is 100% in the Twitter space, but he is not showing up. And this has happened before. Twitter Spaces isn't always 1,000%, but you know what? It's the best that we got, so it is what it is. Let's try not to have profanity in the actual name, and I'll bring you on. Oh, I see Yuli. Hold on, Dan. I'm going to get to you in a second. Hold on 1 second. Let me get Yuli in here before he disappears into the darkness. Knowing Yuli and, I know I'm old and I struggle with technology, but Yuli's got me by a couple years. So we'll see if he can figure out how to accept my. Oh my gosh, did he figure it out? He's muted. Let's see if he can figure out how to unmute himself. Oh,
I think I did it.
He did it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome the captain, Paul Uleberry, joins the show. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Nice show. Congrats on the new podcast.
Thank you.
Interesting to listen to all the stuff, man. Love listening to what you guys are doing over there at the foundation. So I'll just get right into it. The first thing is ankle injuries, man. That's what happened to me last year. Completely derailed my season.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody listening out there, I think that's great advice. Do not come back early. But there's also something to that, man. I mean, competitors, they just want to get back. And you were talking about Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
And I guarantee that it's not his decision to go play, right?
I don't know, man. I feel like I feel like if he had guaranteed money, he would probably have played, but he doesn't.
You think?
Yeah, I do, because like he's in a spot right now where he hasn't gotten that big contract yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
He's in a spot where I think he is a smart enough individual, or he's got people around him smart enough that are like, if you go out there and you injure yourself, you are losing millions and millions of dollars. And I don't think it's worth, that to me is like, you go from potentially having your entire life set up and also being able to continue to play. Because as well, if you injure yourself and come back too soon and injure yourself again, the road to coming back is way longer than the first time.
Oh, for sure.
So you think he, I don't know.
No, I guess my point is,
yeah.
I think, like you said, there's people in his ear, important people.
Yep.
Whether it's his trainers or whether it's his agent, his family, whoever's there is giving him that advice.
Yep.
And I feel like in disc golf, we don't have those little birdies, those smart little birdies in our ear telling us, probably not a good idea. A lot of times, I have a personal trainer and I had somebody that I went to rehab. But these guys that, I'm contracting out to get this person.
Yep.
And I try to find the best person for me. But in other sports, I mean, I feel like those guys are probably the best of the best who know a lot about it. And we don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been able to get into a room with one of the NFL doctors, or get into a room with an athletic trainer that works in the NFL, I mean, the stuff that these guys know, the stuff that they have the ability to use and all that. I mean, it's a game changer for sure. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit, and you might have not been able to hear this when you were trying to leave and whatnot, but I was saying a big issue, I think a lot in sports like tennis, golf, disc golf, these bowling, whatever it may be, these individual sports, if you're not someone that is a top player or has sponsors or people that are supporting you, and your literally main source of income is off of tournament winnings, that also is probably a massive stress, because as you just take more time off, you're just digging yourself more of a hole, right?
Sure.
And that's got to be super stressful for people.
No, so I relate to that big time. When I hurt my knee, just when you said if you can go into a doctor who is head of its class, working for these sports teams. I mean, those are the best of the best because they get paid a lot of money from a big organization. So I went to a doctor. I was having my knee problem, and I was supposed to have already healed up, and I was having this big time problem with my knee. So I went to a doctor, and he told me, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on with you. I'm not going to be able to help you. I think you're just kind of toast," is basically what he told me in a nutshell.
Dang.
So then I contacted somebody who worked for the Seattle Mariners. I was living in Washington at the time, and it was also the doctor for the Seattle Seahawks. So I went in there for a meeting. Within 10 minutes, this dude said, "Yeah, let's get you into surgery in 2 weeks, and you should be good to go 3 weeks after that." That's how long it took me from just a regular doctor. I went into this guy who's seen all kinds of knee injuries, obviously.
Yep.
And he had me fixed. 2 months later, I was playing disc golf again.
It's gosh, the doc. I mean, I just had a dermatology appointment today, and I don't know. The doctor world is it's so interesting to me because I did the same thing with I want to say it was my second knee injury where I went to a couple different doctors to get opinions on it. And it was so interesting of where you can give them the same MRI, they can see and take all the tests, they can get all the same information. And one doctor's like, "This is what you need to do." And then another doctor's like, "This is what you need to do." And it's crazy because it's like, when it comes especially to like my body and health and all that, like I want what's best. And so now I'm like in a dilemma of where it's like, well, I'm not an expert. These people are experts, but they're saying two different things. How do I know
Right.
what's the right decision to make? You know? It's
terrifying. It really is.
It is.
That's why once you find somebody who is really good, try to hold on to them as long as you can, because the first doctor told me, "Oh, I think your ACL is that you actually retore it." And I'm like, "I haven't done anything. That's impossible."
Mm.
And it was like this like the regular test that you do or whatever. And I'm like, "Well, you have the MRI, you have everything." And he's like, "It just seems like it's tore again." And I'm like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about.
Dude,
That's when I went to the other guy. And like I said, it wasn't even 10, 15 minutes before he was like, "Oh no, I've seen this before. This is what's going on, blah, 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 to save the long story." And then I was playing disc golf literally 2 months later after a surgery.
Jeez.
So my point is, definitely don't come back too soon. But I urge disc golfers out there to try to get like as good of professional help as you can. And that's super hard too. It's really hard. It's expensive.
You really need to, I think the best thing is honestly like, obviously like recommendations, right? Finding someone like you're saying, this Seattle Mariners guy, like if you're over in the Northwest and one of your buddies hits you up, like you can like refer them to them. And it's really kind of eye-opening the difference between going to just a standard doctor, right? Your standard knee doctor in Dallas, going to that guy, and going to the orthopedic doctor on the Cowboys payroll, right? Because the orthopedic doctor on the Cowboys payroll understands that if he doesn't get these players in good condition, get them back, if he says this guy's good to go and he goes out there and tears it, like he understands that his entire like legacy, reputation, all these things are on the line because you guarantee that Jerry Jones will bury that guy if he messes up, right? But like if you just go into your standard orthopedic surgeon and like your person is like, "Yeah, I think you tore your ACL." And then you go under massive knee surgery, right? And this is what I've also heard too, is like, if you don't need to have surgery, do not get surgery. Every time they cut you open, it is like a massive hit in your recovery. So if there's stuff where it's like, oh, you just need to do really good physical therapy, you need to build up your VO, you need to build up your quad, you need to build up your hamstring, and then your knee will be stable. do that. Do not do surgery unless it's absolutely required. And so like this guy was like, yeah, I think we're just going to cut you open and see what's out in there. Like that's just wild to me. Right. And it happens to everyone out there because again, you are going to the doctor assuming that the information they're giving you is correct. Like you're putting your trust in them. And like, why wouldn't you? But it turns out there's some bad doctors out there, you know?
There really is. Okay, so one more question if we have time.
Yeah, no. This is the disc golf hour, but everyone knows it's never going to be an hour-long show, so you're fine.
Perfect. So the age-old question in disc golf: collared shirt, no collared shirt. I heard you talking about this in another podcast, and I was just curious to see where you came up with that because early on in my career, I took a lot of flack for not wearing a collared shirt. And I came in to what I felt like at the time, there wasn't a lot of, I don't want to say real athletes, but maybe people with a background in sports, right?
Yep.
And so I naturally was like, listen, I get the collared shirt, but I feel like I'm doing like a athletic movement here.
Yep.
And then I like compared it to like tennis, and I took a lot of flack from like the older generation who was in at the time. Like the best players were, and I won't name names, but you could probably guess who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always, at one point, three or four of them took me aside and they were like, hey man, you need to start wearing collared shirts. And I was like, why? So now that the sport is moving forward, we're getting more eyes on the sport. Where's your mind at with that?
We discussed this topic a little bit earlier, but I think a lot of people would love to hear too. You just expand a little bit more on your thoughts. My thoughts on it is simply, my whole thing was like, the sport can basically decide what is professional and what is not. You look at golf and they probably wear the most, I guess you could say, stereotypical professional attire, right? With the pants, polo tucked in. But then you give examples of like swimming, gymnastics, UFC. There's a bunch of other professional sports where their attire you would never think is like, oh, that person doesn't look professional at all, because the sport has just made the decision, or whatever it is, however it works, of like, if you're going out and doing the pommel horse, that is what you wear. If you're going out and trying to smash the other person in the face, that is what you wear. And so all those things look professional, right? You never look at those sports and be like, that person doesn't look professional at all. My thought too, also on it, another thing is, I think for sure there's one way of looking professional, but I think also the way you act and the way you hold yourself is also, if anything, I think that might be even more important, right? Just because you're wearing a polo shirt and dress pants and you're tucked in, you've got a nice belt and a nice hat, doesn't mean all of a sudden you're a professional. Like, you could go out there and be a complete douche and make a complete mockery of yourself and the sport and everything. And I think that also should be looked at almost more heavily, I think, than dress code. I think a lot of times people look at dress code and like, but I am on the side though that we do need well-tailored stuff. I am on the side of that. I don't think the baggy shorts, the super oversized shirts, those type of things. I guess I made an analogy that I don't know if a lot of people got, because I guess it's an old band, but me and you are old, so you would get it. Like, I basically was like, if you showed up to a Limp Bizkit concert, like that attire probably is not what we're really, what we're looking for on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. But, I think you can have shorts that fit you, that are tailored, a nice dry fit that fits you, that's tailored, color coordinated, looks good. I think you would look professional. And especially if you're acting professional out there, I think those two things go hand in hand then. So, but I would love to hear what you said, because I would say I kind of was like the I flipped completely. I went from gotta dress like golf to now I'm like, if you want to dress like golf, that's fine. I don't care. But we also should be allowed to dress like, tennis players essentially.
Sure. So my thoughts are, if you're going to dress like golf, it's tough because we see a lot of people wearing collared shirts on tour. And I am a victim of this. I'll wear the collared shirt, but I won't tuck it in. And then I look at pictures and stuff, and it's normal to me. But if I take a step back and I look at that, if somebody from golf then saw that, I think they would probably be like, what the heck is this guy doing?
It's tough to tuck your shirt in, though.
Exactly. And so then it comes to the athletic movement that we do. That's why I do not tuck my shirt in, because I do not feel comfortable. So if I were to go, let's say I tuck it in, halfway through the round, it's untucked anyway because of my throw.
Yeah.
When I putt, maybe it grabs a little, and that stuff does matter. Those little tiny intricacies that you go through in your routine.
Yeah.
If there's something off, it's gonna hurt in the long run. And so this year I was thinking, okay, I'm cutting out the collared shirt. I'm just going to wear the dry fits again because I don't tuck it in.
Okay.
And that's where I am now. So I'm at
okay.
the point where I'm like, even though I've been one of the guys who doesn't tuck in the shirt, the collared shirt, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Now that I've thought about it, I don't know. I don't think that really looks professional.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say I think like the big, especially again, I think the biggest thing is like the oversized. Anything that's not tailored just doesn't look good. Whether you're going out of your house or whatever you're doing, like it for most people, wearing stuff that doesn't fit you properly just normally doesn't look that great. But to your point, like the polo and then athletic shorts, I think that looks weird. Am I wanting to ban that? No. Like if you want to do that, that's fine. I just personally think if you are going to go like golf polo, you should probably go like golf pants or golf shorts. And if you're going to go athletic shorts, you should probably go like athletic, dry fit. That's just me. I think, having one and the other kind of looks a little kind of like what's going on here. But with what you were saying with the polo and like getting it tucked in, I mentioned this a little earlier. When I wear my golf shorts, and I talked to this to another golfer, and I was basically explaining how like our movement in golf is very similar. Like the lower body movement, we rotate our lower body, we rotate forward, we rotate back, right? But in the golf swing, my legs, my feet are shorter widths apart, maybe a little bit more, but pretty much shorter width. In a backhand or a forehand, my leg is far extending shorter width. And so now those golf shorts that were completely fine with just rotating in the hips and rotating forward, now when I extend them, like they weren't designed to do that movement. And so you get like this like catching feeling almost of where, especially if you have big thighs like me, I've already discussed this. I have massive thighs. When I go into that stretch, they're like riding up my leg, but then they're also like kind of catching, and it just doesn't feel fluid. It doesn't feel great. I love having compression shorts on, and then I love having some sort of like tennis type of short over the compression shorts. And to me, in that position, whether I'm in the woods and I'm on one knee and I'm stretching out, or I'm walking through mud, or I'm walking through 2 feet of grass, because that's the other thing too. Walking 18 holes on a disc golf course is far harder than walking 18 holes on a golf course. And it's mainly because of the grass, right? Like when you walk down the fairways on a golf course, they are pristine. They are nice. It's very, very comfortable. A lot of these golf courses we're playing, we're walking through the woods, we're walking through tall grass. It's not the easiest walks in the world. And so I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be a little bit more comfortable. So that's where I'm at. You will not be the only person out on tour wearing that dress code. I will be right there with you, and I will take all the blame from the people hating on it as well. I will take it with open arms.
All right, let's charge forward.
Yeah.
What do you think though about the collared no tuck? I think it's ridiculous, and I'm the one that I did.
I think it depends on the.
Straight.
I think it depends on the polo. Again, I think you can find a polo that's tailored correctly, and it doesn't look that bad. But you have to find the right polo, because I do think, the untucked polo looks weird if it's like a long polo, right? But if it's in the right, it's almost like the tie, right? When you put a tie on, if you get the tie in the right spot on your like just the belt buckle, it looks fine. But then there's some people that have the tie where it only goes like halfway down. It's still a tie, but like the place on where it hits you, for whatever reason, it just like offsets you. That makes you feel like a little bit weird. I think it's the same thing with a shirt. If it hits in the right spot, like the right part of your midsection or wherever that is down there, I think you could throw it off. But
I just know for fact in 15 years when I have a kid, he's gonna look back at pictures and just completely make fun of me. Be like, Dad, what the heck were you doing? You look like a total dweeb.
All right,
maybe not.
Can I get you also, if we're riding together on this dress attire, can I get you also to help me with this push?
Hit me.
Well, can I get you to agree to it before I actually ask it? Or do you need?
I don't think that's a smart PR.
Okay, all right. I'll ask it. Oh, and then I gotta get Chandler Kramer in here. Chandler, wait, I want to get you in here because he kind of was the spark plug a little bit to some of the dress code stuff. Will you help me convince other people on tour to stop giving the handshakes prematurely on the 18th tee and to wait until the round is actually over to say good job, like nice playing with you? Are you on or are you off that train?
Brody, that's part of our game. It's the weirdest part.
What does that mean? That's part of our game. Things can change.
You say, hey, some people in the UFC, even before they go in, they give a little bump and they're about to knock each other out.
Yep.
You've seen that. They touch gloves, don't they?
They do touch gloves, but also, real quick, two points, because I'm also going to contradict myself here in a second. The first one being, they do touch gloves. Wait, am I on mute?
I can hear you.
No, I know, but I don't know if the YouTube people can hear me. Can you guys hear me now? I might have touched the mute button. I'm still very new to okay, they can hear me. I might have muted myself there. Apologies if I muted myself. Sorry, guys. Okay, so the UFC thing. I'm gonna contradict myself, but hear me out. They do have the option of touching gloves before. Some do, some don't. Some want to, and the other person doesn't, right? Both people don't. But that's also before the fight actually starts, which is very similar to if me and you are on the same card. I'm going to come to you before we throw on hole one and say, hey, man, let's play well out there. Can't wait to play with you. It's going to be fun, right? Same kind of thing. However, I will contradict myself because there are wars, 5-round wars, where before the 5th round, so essentially before the 18th hole, they will also come to, and this is where it's like not like ref approved, right? Because in this situation, if you really wanted to, you could, and we have seen it where like someone fake taps, like they're going to tap gloves and they just land a dirty shot, essentially. Not illegal though, but that's where I contradict myself because we have seen it. Now, however, mixed martial arts, we have to both agree that is far different than disc golf, right? Mixed martial arts, you have two people that have agreed that they essentially, and we've heard this from multiple people, that they are going to the cage being okay with dying. They have made the mindset of like, if I die today, that is fine. Now, is that dramatization? Is that a little overreaction? Sure, maybe. But I think there is a far different mentality between two people that have been knocking the crap out of each other for 20 minutes, showing each other respect right before the 5th round, than disc golfers playing 17 holes together.
Now,
right?
Yes, I agree. I agree on all
okay.
parts. But we're talking about UFC, and we're talking about traditional golf, and we're talking about disc golf, who all have different traditions.
What other sport outside of disc golf and UFC does, because this is actually an interesting question. I'm not even like trying to prove a point here. But are there any other sports outside of that where that is like a common occurrence of, you know, after the going into the fourth quarter, both football teams line up and shake hands to say, hey, let's have a good fourth quarter, or going into the fourth quarter or the last minute of an NBA game, players are shaking hands being like, hey, it's been a fun game playing with you. And this is where I'm at. Me and you, the way that me and you will handle our the way that me and you will handle our relationship, I guess, on the disc golf course is going to be different than the way that me and someone that I don't have a close relationship with will handle it, right?
For sure.
Like, I'm going to be more inclined to come up and talk to you and say something to you because I have a relationship. Same thing as you see in football where like past teammates, you know, one tackles the other, they get up and they kind of like, you know, butt heads a little bit and like, I got you that time, right? They kind of joke around because they were past teammates. You don't see that all the time. And I just feel like with disc golf, this like tradition, if you will, is forcing some people in a situation where they just might not want to be in that. You like UFC, you have the option of not shaking hands, right? If you want to just be locked in, you have that option. And I feel in disc golf, it's just very awkward when you have someone coming up to you being like, hey, man, it's great playing with you. And you're like, I still have one more hole to play, man. Like, it's not over. I want to shake your hand so badly, but let me just throw a couple more shots and I will shake your hand and we can talk and do whatever. We can give a hug. I can take a selfie with you, but like, give me just one more hole, right? Like that's just my thought is like, why can't it just wait one more hole?
Well, I think part of this could hear me out on this. Let's say, okay.
Yep.
That I decide that I want to be really good at pickleball.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm like, just like you, played a lot of sports. I kind of get the grasp of sportsmanship and what happens on the field, off the field, at the end of games, before games. But this is a new sport to me that I know nothing about it. I just learned to score it actually 2 weeks ago when we were in Florida, okay?
Yep.
So I come into this sport and I start playing, and then they're like teaching me the rules, and then we have 1 point left, which would be ridiculous.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, you guys have to give each other a little wink. That's just what we do. You have to give a little wink. And I'm like, no, I'm not winking.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I do. Because I've played all these other sports. But this is what's happened in pickleball since the beginning.
Okay.
Is it okay at that point? Am I showing my sportsmanship and the respect for the players by going, okay, I'm not winking. Just give me one more point, and me and you we'll bat our eyes for an hour and a half. What about that?
I mean, it's just,
it's tough.
It is tough, but it's like, I feel like you have to be able to remove yourself from the situation. Like, let me give you an example. What are your thoughts on this? Ultimate Frisbee. Okay. Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
Instead of, and this is actually 100% what happens a lot of times. Okay. You just had a massive game. Okay. Let's just say it was the quarterfinals for nationals. Okay. You lost to the team. So you do what every team does, every sport does. You get in a line, you shake everyone's hand. You go down the line, good game, good game, good game, good game, good game. But guess what? You're not done. Now you're going to go every other. So you're going to stand, and then next to you, but on both sides are going to be someone from the other team. And then it's just going to go every other. And you're making a big circle, and you're putting your arms around everyone. And now for the next 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes, you're going to have people on your team, people on their team coming into the circle being like, hey, just want to say you guys gave it your all today. It wasn't enough. You guys just came up a little short, but like you guys have a lot of potential. You guys played really spirited. It was really fun out there. And, you guys gave us a scare. For a moment, I was nervous, but it just wasn't enough. But keep your heads up. Keep your heads up. Keep working hard. Keep playing. Keep being spirited. We loved your cheers. Your guys' cheers, gosh, they were awesome cheers. But it was a pleasure playing with you guys. Really, really awesome playing with you guys. And good luck next year. What are you doing as a competitor in that situation? Are you loving that? Are you enjoying that?
Personally, I'm throwing hands.
Chandler.
Personally, I'm throwing hands.
Like I'm just there. Like if I am the number one team, and I'm on the number one team, and I'm the guy on my team, and I just had a terrible game and let my team down. The last thing I want to hear right now is the other team that just beat me tell me like, hey, good try. It just wasn't enough. Like, I want to hear that from my own teammates, my coaches. I don't want to hear anything from the other team. And here again, this is the thing of where, like, Yuli, if me and you went into a deep battle, right, and you beat me at Champions Cup, and you beat me because I 3-putted on the 18th hole, right? I had to win. I had a putt for the win. I missed it. I had a putt for the tie. I missed it. And all of a sudden, I just gifted you it, right?
Yeah.
The way you're going to respond to me and the way I'm going to respond to you is going to be very different than, I don't know, just pick some other person on tour that I just I'm not very close with, right? And they're coming up and they're having, like, I don't want that person to come up. Like, if you came up and had some words for me, I would listen and respect them and listen to you, right?
Yeah.
But if some random guy just beat me like that, the last thing I want to do is him come up to be like, hey man, good try, next time. Like, absolutely not. Right. And so again, everyone, this is where I'm at. If you want to be lovey-dovey and like that, by all means, that's fine. If that's what you want to be. But at the same time, you have to respect the people that don't want to be like that. And that's where I feel like right now with how disc golf is with the 18th thing, and it'll be interesting to see what Chandler has to say on this. Chandler, if you want to chime in. On the 18th thing right now, we're only siding with the people that want to be lovey-dovey and like tell everyone a good job on 18. And we're telling all the people that don't want to do that and want to be like locked in and stay focused and don't want to shake hands and have that awkward moment. We're telling them like, sorry, but the way you feel doesn't matter. Right? Like I don't know how that's fair.
I don't think so, because I think that as a competitor, there are things that we do have to do to be a good sport that don't even matter. Like at the end, like you said, let's say that you.
But how is me not shaking your hand? How's me shaking your hand at the end of it any different than me shaking your hand before the end of it? I'm still showing respect. I'm still showing sportsmanship.
It is, but it is like part of the game as we know it.
But it's a but do you know why it's a part of the game? Because Paul kind of explained to me why. Paul Macbeth explained to me why it's a part of the game. Do you know?
I have no clue. I've just done it since I first started.
I was told that it had something to do with after the round, people would just leave and never get to acknowledge the good round.
Correct. So like at C tiers, this happens at C tiers, flex starts, all these tournaments where if you play terrible and you didn't cash or your rating was trash or whatever, you just dip. As soon as you throw your disc in the basket, you just dip. Here's the thing though. You can't do that on the pro tour. We all have to come together and do our scores. So like that's the other, like the evolution of the sport is the reason why that happened was because like Chandler was saying, this is the same thing that Paul told me is people were dipping. They didn't like that. They didn't want people dipping or they didn't want people dipping without saying like good job. So they started doing it before you could dip. But like you can't dip now.
Doing it to save the sportsmanship in the round. I don't mind that. I think that maybe there's something good there, because I promise you this. If it was after, I can't, some rounds I can't wait to get out of there. And you can.
Yeah, but you can't leave. You can't leave until we get our scores locked in.
Well, that is very true.
You can't just walk off. We have to all be there to sign our scores. So you're putting everyone in that situation is put in a spot where they have to be there. So like what? Chandler, what do you think?
I'll tell you a story real quick before Chandler.
Okay, go for it.
There's a guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame. If he's not, he's going to be. And his name is, let me think about it. He's a Delaware deucer. I can't believe I can't think of his name right now. Mike Moser. Okay, there it is. Mike Moser. One of my favorite people on the planet. Okay. And this dude is a stone cold killer, bro. Mm-hmm. One of the best spin putters of all time. And he is the only person I've ever been to a tournament where on 18, he will not shake your hand. You love this guy. I know it already.
Yeah, because like, it should be his right.
But here's the thing. He was so well known for not shaking a hand, but before it happened, I had people come up to me and tell me, I'd never played with this guy, and they're like, hey, just so you know, don't try to shake his hand on 18. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, just don't even think about it. Because he would get a little snappy about it. No, I don't shake hands, not till the round's over. And I'm like, okay. Now, for me as a competitor, I'm fine with that because I know sports. And I'm like, yeah, deal, that's fine. But to other people, because it's so ingrained in the sport, could give you a bad rep. Could give you the rep of, man, that guy's not cool. He's not a good sport.
But what if I'm doing it at the end of 18, though? I take my hat off. I walk up to you after we all tapped out, and I say, hey, man, it was a pleasure playing with you.
No, I get what you're saying, but it can still be, wow, this guy's too good for the sport. He's too good for the traditions.
It can be misconstrued.
Exactly.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to be that guy, for sure.
I'll be that guy, though. I have no problem being that guy. Because, again, at the end of the day, I am shaking your hand, and it's a part of the sport that existed for a different reason that doesn't apply to the Pro Tour now. So, Chandler, what are your thoughts? Am I crazy here?
I mean, personally, I know it's kind of ingrained in the sport because I've been doing it ever since I first started playing. But at the same time, I have no issue with shaking hands after the round as well. Because like you mentioned, we're stuck there having to confirm our scores. So it's not hard to just quickly kind of give a little handshake and move on.
Can we also talk about, too, just the optics of not shaking hands at the end of 18, about how weird that is? Do we want to talk about that or no? Do we not think that's weird?
It seems to be a little awkward. There's like kind of like a moment where, because you're like, you have to do scores, but you kind of just like tap out and you look around and you're like, I feel like I should be doing something, but I'm not. So then you kind of just walk off to the side and whatnot. But I don't know. It is a little awkward at times. I guess it also depends on like who you're playing with. But I don't know. I personally will do both because I know you actually kind of introduced the whole idea of shaking hands after the round because I think we played a couple rounds together throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of liked it. I had no issue with it at all.
Yeah, I tell people too. Like I'll tell people like I'm not turning down handshakes. Like if someone comes up to me and is like, I want to shake your hand on 18, I'm not gonna do the Moser and be like, I'm not shaking your hand. I'll shake your hand, but I'll make you feel awkward and be like, because then I'll turn right back and be like, I'm shaking your hand at the end of 18. Because if I have to shake your hand, if you're making me shake your hand now, you better believe you're shaking my hand at the end of 18 because I have the same right to believe that not shaking my hand at the end of the actual event is disrespectful.
So normally what I do at the end of the round, I do the whole take the hat off. So then I get a little bit more of the emotional good game type thing. So I'll do the whole, I'm not going to shake your hand. I'll go good game and I'll do a knuck or something on 18. And then when the round's done, that's when I take the hat off and I go, hey, good round, good playing with you. So I do the double take. And then I might even introduce the wink I was talking about. I don't know.
Chandler, we got a question for you from YouTube. This is actually not about tire, but this might open some old wounds. What were your thoughts on hole 18 at European Open? Did you want to shake hands with everyone there?
Are we talking about the very last round, or are we talking about a specific?
No, final round.
Okay. I don't know. That's a little bit of a weird situation because that was a major, right?
Yep.
And Paul and Eagle were in that very heated battle between the two of them, so it didn't feel right necessarily at the time to shake their hands because also as soon as Eagle made the putt, you know, the emotions were flying high and whatnot. And I can understand acknowledging maybe Paul, but like the other two guys, like me and I think Kevin were on the card, we weren't exactly close to winning or anything like that. Some of us may have had a good round, but it felt a little weird if he would have came like out of his way to like shake our hands. I can understand Paul because it was more like a personal battle between the two of them, you know?
But like, what if you would have inserted yourself like into Paul and Eagle's space and is like, good playing with you, and like had your like that would have felt probably a little weird for you to do in that moment.
That would have felt a little bit odd for sure.
But the thing is there are players I know for a fact, Yuli's probably one of them, that would do that.
I mean, if it's one of those things where like I don't know what like let's see. I don't think that if I was ever in the situation and they interjected real quick, I don't think I'd have an issue with it. So, but at the same time, like on the outside perspective, I feel like it would be weird for me to do that.
Yeah, that's how I view it too. Is like I just feel like there's certain situations where it's just like it's an awkward thing. And again, here's my thing. When it's tradition for it to be tradition, and there's not like an actual like meaning or reason behind it or like a coolness factor or I don't know. I just don't think, to me, I don't think it like separates us from other sports of like, oh wow, disc golf does this. They're so new and hip. This is so cool. I don't think it does any of that. And I think ultimately it just makes some people puts some people in spots they don't want to be. Again, I don't care if you come up to me and shake my hand. It's not going to bother me. But you are shaking my hand after 18.
Okay, quick question, and then I'll be done.
Yeah.
If you go to, let me think. I don't know if it's Norway.
I don't care. But continue.
Sweden, but they have a tradition where if everybody gets a birdie,
I love that.
Yeah, they go and they shake the chain. Are you gonna be the guy who's like, dude, I got more birdies to get, bro? I'm not touching that.
Am I playing for like $10,000?
I don't know what they do, dude. I've done it a couple times, wherever it was.
Is it a casual round? If it's a casual round, I'm all in for shaking the chains with everyone.
Dude,
but say it's a whole culture, okay, and you go over there, and it's like, no, this is what we do. Are you still going to say, no, I don't? There's more birdies to get. I don't care that this is a thing you do in this country. I'm good. I got more birdies.
No, you got to respect the culture at that point.
Then that's my point. This is a culture.
Here's the thing, though.
It is its own culture. It's its own sport. It's been around a long time.
The thing is, though, no.
Okay, go ahead.
No. Time out. You're now bringing in stuff along the lines of like personal space, for example, in the United States is very different than personal space elsewhere, right? If you go, especially to any like Asian country, if you give like the person in front of you, if you're waiting in line or in a queue, if you will, if you give the person in front of you a few feet, you're essentially saying, I'm not in line. And there's going to be someone that gets in front of you. So my point is like that kind of cultural thing of where if someone is coming over to the United States, like I think they have to maybe fit into the culture a little bit about it's not really okay to get up to where you can smell the person's deodorant when you're in line, right?
Yeah.
But when you're talking about like cultural stuff in sports and athletics, the thing is like, are we still playing under the Disc Golf Pro Tour rules? Right? Like we're still playing disc golf under the Disc Golf Pro Tour rules. Yeah. So the rule isn't really, there isn't going to be a rule change that is going to be forcing you to do something along those lines. And again, I'm all for having certain tournaments. Like I like that DDO has the music thing before you throw off, right? Sure. To me, like that is something that's unique It adds value. It's a cool thing that DDO does.
I'm guessing you're like the guy who doesn't have a song. I'm just kidding.
No, I've got plenty of songs. I'll figure out a good. I might go Cotton Eye Joe this year. Who knows?
Do what Nate Sexton did. Just play car noises.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, he played car noises.
Okay, that's pretty fun. But I could also see some players being like, "This is annoying. I don't want a song." Like I can get both sides, right? I can get both sides. But do you see how like that does bring like some value or a uniqueness in like shaking hands or going up to the basket and shaking chains doesn't?
Sure. I'm just curious then with that point. I'm curious if other countries also
Wait, hold on. Let me cut you off real quick because this is a good one. I don't even know what this is, but this reminds me of something in golf, and this is a good one. It says, imagine not touching Brent's tree at the handbrick on hole 8 to give respect. It's not about money. It's about tradition. Like that stuff, I love that, right? Yeah. When you're walking over the bridge at the old course, right? And if you're like retiring or whatever, like you're supposed to stop and like that's where you give your wave and all that stuff. I love traditions like that. I would be all in for doing something along those lines. But to me, again, I don't think that's apples to apples. I don't think me touching a tree to show respect to, you know, a legend in the sport is the same as the placement of when we're telling each other it was fun playing with you.
No,
that's to me, like those two things are different.
I think tradition, when it comes to something like that, it should be highly encouraged, but not enforced.
Do you think that they do? Do you think that all around the world, they in tournament play, or just casual rounds, they say, "Hey, good job," on 18, or do you think it's just an American thing?
Well, we probably have some people in. Well, I mean, who knows? Right now, it's probably super late in Europe, but I'm assuming we have probably some people in the chat that have played over in Europe with some locals. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone has that. That's an interesting one to see.
Yeah.
Danny says we do it in Europe as well.
Okay. It's spreading across the globe. It's ingrained in the culture.
But do you understand that it's okay to also have things that maybe are different on the professional level than it is on the, because I think that's completely fine. If you want to do that on C tiers, B tiers, if you want to do that when you're just playing with your buddies, completely fine. I have no problem with that. My issue is like, I just don't think it is the right time or place for like the professional side. You have two people that are playing for $55,000 and you've got Chandler Kramer that's 25 shots out of the lead coming up to each one of them.
Man, what happened?
Coming up to each one of them being like, "Hey man, it's really fun playing with you," right before he's about to step up and throw. Like that to me seems like it's a little off.
Got flamed for my entire European Open, and I'm getting flamed.
To me, that seems just a little bit off. And, you know, it's just like when you play pickup basketball, the things that you do for pickup basketball are different than the things that you do when the pros are doing and the professionals. Like, I don't think it needs to, I'm not saying it needs to be banished. And I think that's a lot of times some of my takes get like construed as like I'm talking about all of disc golf needs to do this, and 99.9% of the time I'm literally just talking about the Pro Tour. I'm literally just talking about
I think it comes from, I think this is coming from a place of, if Brody Smith started disc golf as a little kid and this is just something you did your whole life, and then it came to this point, I think you might have a different understanding of it. And I'll just leave it at that. I think.
I know. I would agree with you. If you're not
used to doing it.
Oh, yeah. No.
You get what I mean?
No, yeah. What you're saying 100%, because I played with someone at Preserve. Gosh, who was it? Little kid, really freaking good. Like he was 18 or something. Really he was kicking my butt. And I think it was Paul Oman or someone was like coming up to say like, hey, fun playing with you on hole 18. And I just brought up the comment, similar like Chandler was saying how like I brought it up when we played together. I just bring it up and I'm like, do you guys find it awkward doing this now instead of doing it at the end? And the one kid, what you were just saying was like, you know what? I've never thought about that. He's like, I've just always done it and never thought about it. But now that you bring it up, yeah, it's kind of weird. And that's just my point. Like, if there was some sort of tradition that was rooted in something, I would be 100% on board. But from what it sounds like, it was rooted in the fact of just poor sports. We're just leaving before we're leaving right when they finished. And that's why it was created. And so, like, if that's why it was created, we don't need that on the Pro Tour because no one can leave right away after they play. No matter how bad you play, you cannot leave. So that's just where I'm at.
1%, if that, of people are that poor of a sport. Like 1%.
I mean, you did kind of mention that you were kind of like that earlier. People were kind of roasting you in the chat a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I won the sportsmanship. Well, I got awarded the sportsmanship award in 2021. So now I'm going to just be nuts.
Who voted for you? How do you win that award?
Exactly, dude. But that
did you have a vote, Chandler? I didn't have a vote.
Dude, all pro. I got voted by my peers. That's the thing. You were supposed to vote. But here's my point.
How much money did that cost you?
Now from this point on, I'm at the pinnacle of just being the greatest sport of all time. Now I'm just gonna let it ride. I ain't shaking hands. I ain't winking.
Yes.
There's no fist bumps.
Yes. Sleeveless shirts, cutoffs. We're going freaking hot sauce where he's got like the strings coming down his shoulders. Straight fire.
Exactly. You doink a putt, I'm gonna say good run. Like, it's on, bro.
Gosh, I am gonna wink at you so much this year, though. I cannot wait.
If you have a bad round and I come up to you after the round and say like good round, I want you to deck me in front of
that also.
You never know.
Can we talk about our biggest pet peeve real quick? I want to hear all your guys' biggest pet peeves. I first will state real quick, love all the fans, love all the support, love everyone coming out to tournaments. But my absolute biggest pet peeve is when someone, after you're done playing, asks for an autograph or photo or whatever it may be, and then they ask you, like, how'd it go out there? How'd you play? And I'm like, you have the ability. And again, I could get roasted really bad for this, and that's completely fine. But this just comes from a moment of rage, and I've been able to control myself. But you have the ability of seeing that I shot +5 and I missed cash. I was in cash. I missed cash. I just double bogeyed the last hole, and I shot +5. You have the ability of doing that very easily. And that is just, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I clearly play bad. And then on top of that, you get the person that's like super nice and is trying to be like, they're trying to be super nice, but you're like, yeah, I didn't play well. And they're like, better than I could do. And you're just like, like, you're just like, gosh.
That reminds me of a guy at DDO this year who, after the round, was like, how'd it go? And I was like, this was after the third round. I said, I shot +18. And then he had to ask me, did you make the final cut? And I was like, I just looked at him.
Oh, man. I love our fans. I love them so much. But I just try to tell people afterwards, I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's hard sometimes when you ask me how I played. And it's like, I literally just 4-putted that last hole. Like, I don't know if you saw that, but I literally just like the putter was just falling out of my hand. I do have a funny Jordan Spieth, real quick, a funny Jordan Spieth story, and then we probably need to end it. But I was following Jordan Spieth all 18 holes at the TPC Sawgrass. He was playing with Tiger Woods. We were inside the ropes. We had a couple moments of like talking and stuff. So I was like, oh snap, like I'm going to ask him for a photo afterwards. Like he's kind of acknowledged me. Like it's not going to be weird for me to like ask for a photo. Well, he freaking doubles the last hole, like takes a terrible double. And so now I'm in this spot of like, I'm not saying a word to him.
I'm not getting a picture.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm like, I've literally told Kelsey, I look at her, I'm like, this picture's not happening. Like, I'm not approaching him. I'm not saying anything. I'm like, I'm going to stand here. And if he gives me eye contact, I'm not saying anything. I'm only saying something if he says something. And luckily he was super cool about it. And we chatted and I got a photo and whatnot. But like, I knew exactly what he was feeling coming off that hole 18. And had he like just put his head down, walked off, not said anything, I would not have judged him. I would not have said this guy sucks. He's a terrible person, because I've been there. I know exactly how that feels. And the last thing you want to do is like, oh, it's so great to be out here right now, you know? And I hats off to him. Like he was super, super nice about it. But like with that, it's just like I would never fault him if he handled it differently.
And if you asked him and he told you no, you wouldn't have taken it personally either.
No.
You'd have been like, no, I get it. Yeah.
I've been like,
I'm
yeah.
an idiot. My bad.
He's about to go find some sort of drywall that he's just going to lay his elbow or hand through is what he's trying to figure out. So,
exactly.
All right, Chandler, do you want to finish it up real quick? Do you want to say anything to the people that were talking about your dress?
Well, I think I was pretty much the main reason that this got brought up. And well, thanks.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Pet peeves. I didn't get your guys' pet peeves. Sorry. You guys got to tell me your pet peeves. Biggest pet peeve.
Honestly, I don't know. Your pet peeve honestly doesn't bother me that much because, like, I don't know. I got to think about that one.
Well, you're also like one of the most happy-go-lucky people ever. Like it's very difficult to tell if you're 18 over or 18 under, which is a good thing. But
you know, oddly enough, I get so many comments about people saying I look depressed and angry on the course. So it's glad that you said something like that.
No, I've heard maybe from fans looking at it, but every time I've played with you and then also from other people, I've always heard good things of like you're a pleasure to play with regardless of whether you're playing good or bad, which is hard to say about some other people on tour.
No, fans definitely make comments about like, damn, he looks depressed, or like, damn, he looks angry. And I'm like, I promise you I'm having a fun time, but I just shanked it first available, and now I'm looking at bogey at best. Like, I'm sorry if I look a little bit upset.
Yuli, do you have any pet peeves that jump out at you?
Chan has one. He's got to dig deep. Come on.
I got to think about it, because what is technically classified as a pet peeve?
Something that just bugs you. Something that just like, I wish that didn't happen.
My biggest pet peeve is on the putting green, and it's in between. If you're inside, I'll just say this. If you're inside, let's say 50 feet, sometimes 60 feet, depending on the wind and the conditions, and you throw up a putt and you miss, I don't care how you miss, unless it spits out and somebody on the card says, good try or good hit. Oh, that just gets to me, dude. I hate that because it's like, listen, we're on the pro tour. There was nothing good about it. It didn't go in. Maybe if, it chains out and it was like a heavy chain out and I'm like 60 feet, there's a distance to where then the good bid is a good bid, right? But inside 50 feet, if you aren't making it, I don't want to hear anything from anybody about, hey, that was a good run.
What if I give you the, oh man, unlucky.
I don't want to.
As your disc is just rolling, as your disc has hit cage and rolled OB, and I just look at you and be like, oh man, that's unlucky.
well, I was playing in a tournament, Brant Hambrick, I think it was, and I'll never forget this. I was playing with Big Germ, I'm pretty sure, and I made every putt the whole entire day. It was the year that I won, and I got to a hole and I putted up this putt, and I swear on my life, halfway through the putt, I'm just like feeling it, dude. I'm like, yes. Oh, made another one. But halfway through the flight, Germ says, nope. Dude, I swear his words made this disc drop an inch. Bro, jumped on him like I was climbing a tree. I was so mad. I'm like, are you kidding me? That wasn't a nope. That was a good putt. I'll never forget it, dude. I will never forget it. So the good buds or good putts, the nopes, there's no room for it on my card. And I've like jumped people's case and been like, dude, there was nothing good about that. Nothing good. Don't tell me good.
That's what you got to do, though. It's not going to stop unless you say something kind of like that, where someone's like, "Oh, snap! Okay, I probably shouldn't ever say anything to Yuli again, unless it actually went in the basket."
I think I do have a pet peeve. I think it's after, like, if I throw a bad shot or something like that, usually this happens way more often, I feel like, than it should to me. But they'll be like, hey, maybe next time you should throw this, or you should throw that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, because that's not what I'm comfortable with.
Like, like,
no, I get that.
Can I do one more? Am I allowed to do one more? Because Chandler just made me think of one.
You could do
I was gonna say the thing that never happens is I've never had a pro come up to me and be like, hey, maybe you should have thrown that line instead. It's always been a fan or something like that. And I'm like, I appreciate the advice, but I'm sorry. Like,
or let me throw one. Same scenario. You throw a shot and then and you think it's good, and somebody on your card's like, yeah, you're gonna kind of be tucked over there on the left. You're like, like, are you serious? And you get over there, and maybe it is or maybe it isn't, but like, let me find out this information.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like,
or let me talk to my caddy. Like, let me have that conversation with my caddy.
Yeah.
The other one that's similar to the two that you guys just brought up is where, like, someone's throwing through a gap, mostly on tee shots. They're throwing through a gap, or there's water or something, and they miss the gap. They hit a tree. They throw it in the water, and they're like, gosh, it's impossible to throw through that gap. Or, oh my gosh, I always throw it in the water. And they have like this something that just like is the last thing you want to hear right before you step up to the tee pad. Where it's just like it's just putting into your head, like, is it impossible to throw it through that gap? Like, does every shot hit that tree? Is that actually what's going to happen here? Like, those are just comments that I think once caddies are more common on tour, like local caddies, because obviously, like, having a touring caddy is probably tough, but having a local caddy, like, that's something where it's like you walk off the tee pad and you talk to your caddy, like, gosh, I can never throw it through this gap. I don't know what's going on. That I feel like that's just like, you probably don't want to have that conversation with everyone on your card. Like, some people
my caddy is a full-time caddy.
Yeah.
And I had to break him of the worst habit ever. Okay. Brad Hammock, at the beginning of the year, would tell me this. He would say, dude, you're parked. I remember this. I'd be like, I'm like, okay, sweet, I'm parked. I get up there, I'm like 25 feet, 30 feet. And I'm like, I would like be thinking to myself, why would he tell me I'm parked? Because we all know, as professionals, if your mindset is correct, you're thinking of the worst possible spot that you could be in.
Yes.
That's the putt you're trying to make walking up to the putt. You're never thinking I'm parked. You're always thinking, okay, I threw it good, but maybe I hit a root and I'm like 30 feet. That's what I'm preparing for. And then when you get confirmation from somebody, oh no, you're parked, then you like kind of relax. You're like, okay, I'm parked. Sweet.
Birdie, no problem.
Yeah, birdie, we can move on to the next one. And then I would get up there, and this happened a lot, to where our car rides back to the hotel were not a happiness. It was not a happiness. I'm like, dude, if you ever tell me that I'm parked and I have a 30-footer again. So that's another pet peeve. But anyway, that's it for me.
That's good.
I remember what my actual pet peeve is, because I realize this actually gets under my skin more than it should. But it's when you're throwing a shot and it looks so good, but it's just a little bit off and it clips a tree or clips a branch, and someone goes, oh, that looked so good. If only it was, and then they say something about, like, if it was only a little bit lower, only a little bit higher. It's like, yeah, I'm fully aware. Like, I appreciate you that. It's like I'm on the ground, like, just like struggling, and then you pull up there and just shoot me while I'm down. Like, yeah, that hurt
Yeah, I
Or
think
when somebody says that you're going to be 23 over par, and Chandler's 23 over par, no chance to win the tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of these. I think these are like a lot of growing pains, right? These are a lot of things that, again, kind of what you were mentioning, Yuli, where a lot of people have kind of went from how they're acting the same way when they picked up the game when they were 12, 13 years old on the pro tour. And it's like, there's levels, there's different things that need to change. And one of those things is like, yeah, obviously when you're playing with your buds and stuff like that, the banter and the talk and all that stuff is all great. But then like, there are certain situations where you just have to read the room a little bit, right? And you just have to realize like, maybe there are some things that maybe you hold off on saving. Maybe you don't tell Chandler that, oh yeah, there's water short there. You're probably in the water. Like there's certain things where it's like, maybe just let them find that out for themselves when they get up there versus like you basically just like ruining them their next 250 feet as they figure out that their disc is in the water. So these are all good ones. Pet peeves. This might have to be like a new segment where we get other pros to come on and give their pet peeves.
Objectively, everything we just talked about is funny from like an outside perspective, but like in the moment, I'm like, you better shut up.
Yeah.
No, Brad got it, dude, in the car. I'm not kidding. Dude, no. Tell me I'm parked, bro, ever again.
Dude.
When I played with you at Champions Cup, I remember at least 3 or 4 times that round. Oh, dude, that's so good. You're parked. And then you're like 50 short.
The clip that always gets me is at the very beginning of our USDGC doubles battle where Brad, he somewhat like inserts himself in. I got to watch it again because I forget what it was. But when I was editing the video, because I didn't catch it when it was actually happening. But when I was editing the video, I absolutely died. And I watched it like 10 times. But it's something like he tries to insert himself and Big Germ just like immediately shuts him down. Literally like 2 minutes into the video, is like, get out of here, man. What are you doing? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Oh, all right. Well,
bless his heart, man.
Hey, good chats, fellas. Appreciate you're welcome back on anytime. I'm sure everyone listening and watching would love to have you guys come back on. So appreciate you guys tuning in and adding to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us on, man. And congrats on the new podcast, man. Love all your stuff.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right, that's Yuli, Chandler. Be seeing those guys on tour. Moving forward. Oh, all right. What a heck of a podcast. I think that's going to wrap it up for us. And it was one heck of a podcast, I think. It was pretty good. Pretty solid. Appreciate it. And, oh, wait. Crap. Let me get Chandler real quick. He is left. Maybe we'll get him next time to talk about. I forgot to talk about his dress code. Oh, I also had a super chat. Want to shout out Alan Weed for the $20 super chat. How long do you think it will take for sports medicine to catch up with disc golf specifically, as well as sports trainers? Again, I think this is just all a money's game, right? The people that have the ability to afford and pay for it are going to go out and seek treatment and find it. The people that don't, it is what it is. So it's one of those as the sport continues to grow, hopefully with purses, sponsorships, all these things. I think you'll start seeing that happen. And then also like, it's not a crazy world to think about having 4 or 5 guys on tour pull together for a masseuse to follow them or a physical trainer or physical therapist or something like that. It's probably a little bit crazy to think about one person having their own masseuse, PT, kind of traveling and doing all that with them. But if you had like 5 or 6 people all chip in, it's not the craziest thing in the world. That's also how people on the PGA Tour do it. You have one like PT guy that will loosen you up before you go out and play And then after your rounds, we'll give you a massage to kind of help you recover. These are all things that help, obviously. And if you can kind of pool your money together, it's not the most expensive. So we could be seeing some things like that happening, which would be awesome. We do have Disc Golf Strong with Seth Muncie. He does a great job. But again, it's one of those where it's like, I think as the sport continues to grow, we'll see more and more into it, which will be awesome. All right. One heck of a show. Thanks for everyone that called in. Thanks for everyone that's watching live. Thanks for everyone that's listening on Twitter Spaces. Thanks for everyone that's watching on Apple Podcasts, or not listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And like I said, this is a brand new podcast, the Disc Golf Hour. It will be a new show over on those podcast platforms. So make sure you go check those out if you want to listen in on the podcast side of things. But I appreciate it. And yes, I'm doing ice baths to answer your question, Larry, and they're amazing. I've been doing them ever since like Ultimate Frisbee. I've been starting doing ice baths since like 2006. I want to say is when I started doing them. And yeah, I love them. I'm a big fan, and yeah, they're great. Okay, that's gonna end it. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one. I don't have a cool outro or anything, so it's just gonna end.